Hey guys, I'm so excited today. I have one of my most favorite people on the planet right here, and this is a big dream of mine. First off, Justin Stumvoll, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Erica.
I'm so
I really,
happy.
I love you so much. You're one of my favorite people.
I love you. You are one of my favorite and most instrumental people in my life. So I'll get right to it, folks. I have I've talked over and over about having my coaches in my life and my coach is this, and if you're ever wondering like who are these coaches that she talks about, it's this man right here, Justin Stumvoll, and his beautiful,
Aw, shucks.
stunning, lovely wife Abby. And when I'm not running away from them because I'm too scared to confront things in my life, they are my coaches. When I find the courage in my ovaries to show up and go, okay, I can do this, and they're like, okay, you didn't need to run that whole time. It was okay. They have been the key instrumental people in my life. Who brought freedom to my heart. Just to give a little history here, Justin and Abby, I experienced them from time to time and just saw like their magic and their power and their wisdom and just what their gifts bring to the table. And I went through a bit of a dark season in my life, and
Yeah.
normally I could have like read books and like kind of healed myself, and it was something inside of my heart said, not this time, Erica, you need outside help. And I'll never forget going to you and Abby and saying, hey, listen, I want to work with you guys every month, and I want to pay you because there's value to what you do, and I want to make that investment because you guys are so worth it. And we went on this journey where you guys literally brought freedom and redemption to my heart, where like there was self-hatred and
Yeah.
rejection, and where I had this concept of love as being so weak, and you and your wife just fighting for
Mm.
my heart, so much so that a lady that I consider like another mom in Texas said, whoever these two people are, the transformation that we're seeing inside of you, these people are going to launch you into your destiny.
Mm.
And at the time, I had previously been given like kind of like shallow, fun dating advice. But when you guys opened up my heart the way that you did, and then months later, my sister would have that very horrific, accident where she was hit by a
Yeah.
drunk driver. It
Yeah.
changed my life. It opened up my heart, and I was like, I have to speak from a place of love. I cannot give shallow advice anymore. And that was safe for me to embrace because you guys had introduced me to a safety with love, where I didn't
Yeah.
have to run to control and all of these other defense mechanisms, but I could just sit in love and be safe there. And it's because you two fought for my heart.
Mhm. That makes me want to cry, Erica. I just want to say this, that, it's really interesting because relationship, there's such an exchange in relationship. It's never really one-sided, especially if you're doing intimacy inside of the context of friends. Because for us, as we were exchanging and giving away something that we've been doing for a long time with people, you turned around and said, I want to pay you. In fact, I have to pay you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let you guys give this away for free. I'm going to pay you. And you were one of the keys for launching my business,
Wow.
because I had this history of going, okay, I would really like to get paid for bringing transformation. But because I didn't have a background in actual therapy, counseling, psychiatry, and that was a route I didn't want to take.
Right.
And not that there's anything bad about those things. It just feels like there's a box or a limitation on how their approach is. But I was like, all I knew is that I was facing my fears, my insecurities. I was finding out how to get healing for myself. And I had all these tools to give away, but I didn't know, like, I want to get paid. I wanted to since I was a kid, but I don't know how to. And just when you did that and you initiated it and you became a promoter in our life, where you're like, no, you guys need to go see Justin and Abby. They're totally going to wreck your world. They're so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just really started filtering a bunch of people in your personal world into our life.
Yes.
And so I just want to say that in the context of relationship and intimate relationships, we're giving the best of ourselves to each other,
Yeah.
and throwing each other forward. And that was how you were a big gift in my world. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Justin, for saying that.
You're so welcome,
And
Arica.
Justin, you have an amazing book called The Tree of Life that wrecked me just reading it. Oh my God. And I have it. Can you tell our listeners like about The Tree of Life?
Yeah, absolutely. The Tree of Life is a unique novel that I wrote because it looks like a children's book, but it deals with adult themes. And so I took and created an adult children's novel where like it doesn't exist. Like there's not a concept of an adult children's novel. So it's this cross-generational book that parents go, oh, I'm going to read this to my kids. And they're like, it's for me. It's all for me. What is this?
Yeah.
But it's a full-on novel. And one of the things that it does is it addresses the issue of pain and brokenness, because I went through a deep season of processing my own childhood and the loss of innocence. As adults, we lose our childlikeness, we lose our innocence, and we lose it under the pain of life. And for me, I wrote a tale about Okie the acorn, who's buried and planted and very much feels like stuck in life.
Wow.
And the idea of it between him and this little boy named Joshua, who comes on the scene, who's eccentrically imaginative, comes in and begins this journey of connection between him and Okie as this acorn who's buried in an apple orchard, thinking that he's meant to make apples one day, but he's meant for so much more, grow together in each of their journey. But what it deals with is realizing that in order for us to come fully alive, we have to come alive where we're planted. Like we have to begin to see the life that's right in front of us and enjoy and love the life, embrace the life. We have to learn how to forgive ourselves fully, and break out of the cultural norms, because there's this norm of this is the way life has to be, because my parents said so, because life said so, because politics said so, whatever it is. But we have to begin to define how we're going to live out our life. And so it faces deep tragedy and deep loss, and it's this journey of deep forgiveness, not just externally but towards self. And by the end of this story, we see that we have everything inside of us, already inside of us from the beginning of time, to create a destiny that we didn't even have the eyes to dream for.
Wow.
So that's the whole part of it. And it took all the best elements of my season of what I call hiddenness, which is just working on this and not having anything outside of me to say that I'm awesome. You know, like I didn't have any platform and I wasn't doing anything great in everyone else's eyes, but I was learning how valuable and lovable I was and am as a man, regardless of all of that. And it outlines through the allegory that journey and those nuggets of wisdom that I got.
I remember being with you on this journey. I remember you at my place with your laptop and you're like, I'm writing this book, and you're like, listen to this. And I'd be like, whoa. But I think being on the outside, like being being in and out of that journey with you, and then seeing this transform into an actual book, and to like see like the dream go from the acorn to the actual like tree, the actual book. It was just like mind blowing. It was like, wow, I saw the birthing of a dream and I saw the dream come to fruition. So magical. And, you know, I was just at your home and seeing the big art piece that's in your home. And I remember saying to you, Justin, I know this will become a movie. It's such a powerful story. I know it will become a movie. So whoever's watching this and does movies, you need to read this book and you need to make it happen.
I do want to say this about it because I think that this is instrumental. When I wrote that book, I knew that I had a story inside of me. And a lot of times there's this creative life force inside of us that we're unwilling to initiate relationship with because we can't see how it's going to happen. And we can't see what it's unto. So we put off dreams inside of our heart going, well, I don't know how it'd ever get published, and who would edit it, and who would do the cover of it, and who would distribute it. And we have all of those types of questions with regards to whatever our dream is. And for me, I knew that I had to write this story for myself because it was creative life inside of me, and it was part of my journey of learning how to come alive where I was. And so I wrote the book, and in the right timing, in the right timing, someone comes along and goes, hey, I'm an editor. I would love to edit that book for you. That sounds amazing. Can I just read it? Can I just get connected to it?
Oh my God.
And then I had a guy come in, and this is worth people hearing for their dreams because, but I had a guy come in and go, he was a very wealthy man, said, I love this book. I want to put all the money behind it. I want to publish it. I want to launch it. And I said to him, no. And I said, I don't feel it right now inside of me. I'm sorry, man. Like, I couldn't be more ecstatic. People dream for moments like this, but I feel like I'm supposed to wait. And so I kept waiting. And he goes, I've never seen anyone act like this or do this in all of my business, but hey, man, you go for it.
Right.
And so two things happen because I'm talking about, I think today we're going to talk about intimacy as part of our subject. And this is, I learned how to become intimate with my own heart and my own emotions. I began there and I began to learn how to trust myself.
Yeah.
And so in that intimacy that I cultivated and that trust that I cultivated in my own heart, I started realizing, like, even if it doesn't make practical, logical sense, I'm going to follow this.
Wow.
And that delay for 1 year did two things, because it ended up delaying the book doing anything for an entire year. But in that year, a random friend came to me and said, dude, I have the perfect guy to do the cover for this book. I know he's supposed to do it. And he goes, I have kind of a relationship with him. Let's cold call him. So he cold calls him, says, I know you're supposed to be connected to this guy that has this book. Wow. Here's kind of what it's about. Let me put you guys together. So the guy takes a Skype, and his name's Noah Elias, and he's a Disney fine artist. And Noah, I tell him about it, and immediately he goes, this is what my dreams are in this season. Like, I've been doing work for other companies and stuff, and I want to launch things with ideas and concepts and a heart value that's like this. Whoa. I'm going to do this for you for free. So he comes in and goes, I'm going to give you like $50,000 worth of work, from the cover, the painting, the individual things that he drew inside of it, all for free, because he says, I connect to the source of this and I want to see it launch.
Whoa.
That ended up creating this momentum where, let me tell you this, because this is amazing.
I love this.
For another friend of mine who had been cultivating, walked away from the business world for about 1.5 years, went on a life journey, then got reactivated, and he'd never considered publishing, but he felt like people had said, I feel like you're going to have, he'd had people say, I feel like you're going to have a big publishing business one day that's going to be very successful, which he laughed at in the past. He's like, that doesn't even make sense.
Right.
All of a sudden he got reactivated and says, I want to do a publishing company, and I want to do it different than anyone has ever done it. And I'm going to call it Book Rally, and I'm going to make it so authors have access to building their dreams. And because he was a close friend that I had invested in myself for all those years, he goes, I want to start with your book. We're going to raise all the funds. We're going to make all of it happen, and you're going to own all the rights. Now, the other wealthy man who was going to pay for things, he said, I have a publisher, going back 1.5 years or whatever. He said, I have a publisher that you need to go with. And I said, I know that publisher, and I know their behavior, and they're going to make really destructive decisions. And even though you're going to pay for it, I'm going to lose my rights, and I'm going to be caught up in battles with them.
No.
Now, fast forward, I got in a relationship with this friend with Book Rally, and this other guy brought another person to the table, this other wealthy man, brought another friend to the table, got in bed with that publisher, and all the problems I said were going to happen did. In fact, he called me up one day and said, I don't know what it is about you, but you follow a different set of rules in life. You were completely right. You saw something that I couldn't see in all my years of business. All the problems you said were going to happen did with this publisher, and now we're in a legal battle trying to get out of it. And the reason I say this, and I think that this is a good story that models something, is that cultivation of intimacy and trust with my own being kept me out of a legal battle, kept me out of a relationship that could have been toxic, got me, and I would have never had Noah as the guy who was going to help launch the book, because we would have just pushed forward and hired somebody because there was enough money to make it happen. But in my journey of trust, I had to trust that something else was going to come to me in the right timing. All I had to do was be excellent and position everything as being ready to go, and everything started following it.
Wow.
And it reminds me of the movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. I don't know if you ever watched that, but
Of
it's this
course.
whole journey of just this echo of build it and they will come.
Yeah.
And he was just like, all right, I just know I got to build this field, this baseball diamond, this field. And everything in the right timing actually came. And
Whoa.
so I want to challenge your listeners, and then we can jump into the intimacy talk further. But I want to challenge you guys, like, as you've been listening to Arica maybe previously and maybe stuff that you'll hear in the future, of beginning the journey of going, I want to get intimate with myself.
Yes.
I want to begin to learn how to connect with what's honestly inside. I want to get out of the rules and the regulations.
Yes.
Like Tim Ferriss, who did the 4-Hour Work Week, he got pissed off and he basically was like, life is bullshit. Everyone says this is how we're supposed to do stuff. And he took, I think, 3 to 6 months off, sat on a sandy beach going, I need to figure out what I really want to be doing.
Yeah.
And in that time, he cultivated all these ideas and everything started shifting for him. And now he's super wealthy, very well known. But there was something that started with him stopping everything. Yeah. And I say that on my journey, I learned how to push pause so that I could actually play. Whoa. And in a world with masculinity, we've been taught to be divorced of our heart and our emotions, to get on a hamster wheel and run that hamster wheel according to how everyone else says we're supposed to do it. And we're taught to live divorced from ourselves. And we're told that that's success. Yep. Just work really hard, do the business plan this way, bust your balls, then you can have the house, the cars, all of this. But the guys, Arica, I have multi-millionaire entrepreneurs dropping into my office all the time and via Skype, and they're going, I made everything, but my family's in the dumps. My relationships with my kids are in the dumps. Wow. I hate my life more now than I did when I was in my 20s and had nothing. Wow. And so ultimately they're going, what did I do wrong? Right. And I'm like, you bought into the bullshit system. Yes. And you did what everyone else said you were supposed to do, but you never felt connected to. You were driven by fear and insecurity into this system rather than trust and intimacy internally. Yes. And you've destroyed your whole life. And that's what, the midlife crisis. Yeah. Oh my God, divorce my wife. Everything's horrible. Throw my kids out. Buy some new cars. Run away with the secretary. I don't know, whatever the classic idea of midlife is, the midlife crisis. But it's all because they wake up and they go, my heart is screaming after 20 some years. Fuck this. I hate this. Totally. I don't want to be doing this. This isn't who I am. It's screaming at me and I don't know what to do. So I freak out and I try ripping out of whatever trap that I feel like I'm in. Wow. And they're at ground zero, broken and shredded and confused. Whoa. And so the men that are listening, I'm saying the idea of beginning to cultivate intimacy with you, which is pushing pause to play, stopping and going, what do I believe? Yeah. What do I actually feel? Yeah. What do I actually dream of? What do I want? If fear of finances and fear of disappointing my parents or fear of looking inadequate or weak in everyone else's eyes, if fear is not a question, I say this. This is my quote that I always give to people. Fear is a gateway between us and the destiny of who we are created to be. Wow. And there's a gate of fear in our life where if we're not willing to look at that gate that stands there and go, what are my fears? What are my insecurities? What is it that's telling me that I have to live the life that I'm living right now? If we're unwilling to face that and blow through it, then we'll never get to the other side of it, which is actually the dream and the destiny that was breathed into us before our creation of time. Wow. So that as we're starting this off, this is just an invitation for you men to go, how about I turn my world upside down? And may I say another thing? Please. As I'm rambling.
No, this is good. I'm like, bring it, buddy, bring it. That's why you're here. Bring it. Bring the fire.
We're taught that emotions are weak. We're taught that connecting with ourselves and crying are weak because of fear. So we have men or generations that went before us and said, quit being a pussy boy. Yep. But what that father or that grandfather or that authority figure was really saying is, I'm scared of my goddamn mind to actually deal with what's inside of you.
Come on.
I'm scared of dealing with what's inside of me. So if I can declare it as weak and
Whoa.
insecure, and if I can write this message over that thing,
Wow.
that there's something bad about it, then I don't have to face my own fear. So the truth is, weakness is actually found in the man who's scared to face his emotions. That's weak.
Yes.
The most brave thing I can do is intimately rip my chest open and go, I am scared out of my goddamn mind. I'm going to let people close enough that they could say, they could reject me, they could judge me, they could misunderstand me. That's scary. That's brave. Like, bravery and courage is when we are willing to let people so close to us that if they take a swipe of the sword, it could be the end of us.
Yeah.
Because it could actually really devastate us.
Wow.
So the man that says, oh, I don't care, you can't hurt me, my wife can't hurt me, my kids can't hurt me, my friends can't hurt me, I'm friggin' steel, is really a man that goes, I am buried beneath a wall of fear. And I am hidden deep inside of myself, terrified that someone will see the little boy. And I act like it's valiant and I act like it's power, but it's a false form of power. And it's a false form of strength and courage. It's a false form of bravery. And what it does is it's suffocating. Because there's this, I'm not going to overly spiritualize this, but there's a quote inside the Bible that says, Jesus says that if you want to inherit the kingdom or step into the kingdom, you have to become like these children. The kingdom is a mindset, a freedom, a place of freedom. The kingdom is fully being alive and hopeful and happy and joyful and having peace inside of yourself. And what you notice inside of children is that children live a lifestyle of trust.
Totally.
They're radically trusting. They're like, I just know everything's going to be okay. And they run around screaming and playing and just doing life before someone says, life is shit, get ready for it. They just trust, like, my parents are going to take care of me. Food's going to be on the table when it needs to be. I'm going to be clothed. I'm going to have a roof over my head. Children live in trust that everything's going to be taken care of. But there's something that happens in life because of pain, experiences of pain, disappointments, tragedies that hit, that we go, I can't trust, and we lose our innocence. And we bury the child inside and we go, I don't want anything to do with you, little kid, because you are too trustworthy. You're too hopeful. And your hope only leads to disappointments. And your trustworthiness only leads to betrayal in relationships. So I hate you and I'm going to bury you. And so that innocence, right? That childlike nature, we divorce ourselves from. And then I have guys who come into my office and go, I'm not sad and I'm not happy. I feel nothing. I'm numb. And so you have this numbness that men are living out of, where it's just a plateaued lifestyle. And it's because that part of us where the child exists, the child who has all the emotions, we batter and abuse that and we say, I hate you. You'll only hurt me. I'm going to cut myself off from you. But if we divorce ourselves from the part of ourselves that's childlike, that also has pain and different emotions, we divorce ourselves from our happiness, our pleasure, peace, our wildness, our creativity. Children are the most creative. Children long ago, probably long before we ever stepped foot on the moon, were going, I want to go out to space one day and be on the moon. And people are like, don't be a stupid shit. That's not possible. And somewhere there was this abuse that came in. And all of a sudden, the creative self dies. And they go, well, I need to be more realistic and not be a stupid kid. But it's the dreamers, the childlike that launched us to the moon. It's the childlike that put us in flight and sent us sailing. You know, it's all the dreamers that were connected with the child inside of themselves. And so that is a huge part of, you know, I'm elaborating and I'm opening up the conversation of intimacy. Intimacy comes with facing deep amounts of fear. You can't do it without facing fear. And you can't do it without connecting in internally. Because if I can't be connected to what I call our heart or our authentic voice, like my authentic voice, like in relationship here with Arica,
Yeah.
like, in order to have intimacy, I have to have honesty,
Yes.
right? And so recently we had a situation where there was a breakdown in communication where you went, I don't want to talk to Justin about this. And there
Yeah.
was a pulling away that happened, right?
Totally did.
So intimacy began to break down because honesty wasn't present.
Right.
Because there was fear of how I might react.
Yeah.
I don't know. You
Of
tell me.
course. Yeah. I was afraid. I was like, if I tell Justin where I feel hurt, where there's offense there, that Justin will abandon me, he'll become angry at me. And because he's so emotionally intelligent, he will somehow use his emotional intelligence and manipulate me and make it feel like it's my fault. And if he does that, it will completely sever our relationship for good. So I'd rather just have this distance there than have no relationship. I mean, these were all the stories I had going on inside of my head.
And so what did your fear perpetuate? Between us?
We weren't even really talking. It was like text here. It was like distrust here. I was like going through some very private battles, and you're always a person that I go to, and you always like get me on the other side. Nope, didn't do that. Which my boyfriend and I have decided we're like, okay, once a month, Arica has to do sessions with Justin. And my boyfriend was like, yeah, when I see you deflecting and getting your mess, our key word is going to be, I think it might be a good time to call Justin. I was like, thank you, honey. That's great. I love that. But it's true.
Yeah, and fear is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Totally is.
So the fear of what was going to happen, you created anyways inside the relationship.
Yes.
So Arica, tell your viewers what happened when you did get honest with me. Like the general idea of what happened.
Totally. So,
how did I respond? What did you feel?
Oh my God. So you're like, Arica, I want you to tell me, because I was like, certain men make me afraid, and da 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 da. And you're like, who are the men? And I was like, Justin. And so after like I was going through like some of my facing pain and fear, and you're like, do you feel safe telling me what happened? I was like, oh my God, do you really want me to tell you? And you were like, yes, I do. And there was like this space that you opened up for me, and I could feel safety in this. And what I felt intuitively was, I can do no wrong in this space. Like I'm gonna be loved. I'm gonna be seen. I'm gonna be nurtured. My heart's gonna be cared for. All the opposite things that fear was telling me, I knew in that moment when you created that space. And I have to say, there's something about intimacy where even sometimes where we can't do it, the beauty of facilitating intimacy with someone else is there will be times that you won't have the keys to get there. I did not have the balls to tell you any of this. I was like, totally. Yeah, we can totally process everything in my heart. I just won't come to terms with what I'm feeling towards you. And so you created that space for me because you knew I was too scared to go there. So you were very kind, and you said, okay, can we talk about that? And I said, yeah, when you said this about me, or when you said this about this situation, and in this situation, when I felt like you were handling it this way, and it made me feel so unsafe. And I was like, what the? And you just said, Arica. So the lie I was believing was Justin is unsafe. Yep. I was like, Justin's gotten too big for his britches with his coaching. Like he's not creating empathy anymore. He's just like nailing people. And I was like, and you said, Arica, the situation that you invited me into, I knew I wasn't going to be able to win from the get-go. But because I wanted to honor you and to be there and support you, I stood present in that moment. And I knew that if I just spoke in honesty, then that was the one gift that I could give to that moment where I felt very unwelcomed. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it just connected. And I was like, I see it. I see it. And it was just like, there was just no more walls. There was no more shame. There was no like internal pretense of like keeping guards up. It was just like, and then I went from feeling that to just thanking you and going, I see what you did for me in that moment. Thank you for loving my heart. Thank you for even putting your ass on the line to love me. Wow. Thank you for that.
And what you did is you risked. Okay. Risk was a big one, because I know that you didn't want to say like when you're naming off men or stuff, but you said, and Justin, and I know. I was like, oh, she just risked. I felt it. I
Yeah.
felt the immediate risk. And I was like, okay. So this is her dipping her toe in the water and going,
Yes.
hey, if you want to come over here and talk
Yeah.
about it.
Totally. 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 It,
So go ahead.
even like the whole premise of where our conversation started, like there was something that I was keeping in the back of my mind. I was like, well, I'm talking about everything but that. And once I got in your presence, and like, because you exude so much love and safety and just that permission to like be loved in your mess, I was like, okay. And this is the one thing I'm struggling with. And I was like, fuck, now my cards are on the table. And you're like, do you want me to talk into that? I was like, duh, that's why I'm here. And you're like, okay, let's go to the couch. So I was like, the couch, the couch, the couch. Oh, fuck that couch. I'm like, Rick James, fuck your couch, fuck your couch.
Totally. So part of what happened is when we're talking about intimacy, you talked about the idea of love. Like you could feel that I was loving. So part of the key for intimacy to exist is that offense can't be like present. Okay. So for me on my side, when I heard Justin I have pain with, right?
Yeah.
My immediate thing wasn't to go into guarding myself.
Wow.
Because I'm like, foundationally for intimacy, like deep intimacy to exist, not only do we have to trust in the love that other people have for us, but we have to trust in love from a higher source. Yeah. So Arica isn't my source. If Arica says, I hate you, you're a piece of shit, like she's not my source of love, of unconditional love. Yeah. And I go, okay, she feels that way. Like she is not the source of my identity. Right. And even in my relationship with my wife, she's not the source of my identity. Right. So my love doesn't come directly. She's not the source spigot, like a water spigot.
Totally.
So when my wife goes, I'm angry, I'm on my period, and she goes off and she wants to disconnect. For me, I go, there's a source of unconditional love that's higher than me, that I know that I'm plugged into, that I go, I am a loved creation. Wow. I am an unconditionally loved creation. And I know that I can hear from that source, and that source says, you're a good husband, Justin. Wow. You're a good man. You're a good son. Wow. You're a good brother. And so if a source of unconditional love is never broken, then I position myself in a place of non-offense, and Arica goes, I'm angry at you. Okay, sweetie, why are you angry at me? Because I'm not personalizing it. I'm not personalizing it in the way of I'm bad. Right. And shame is the biggest wall to intimacy.
Totally.
So shame says, it says what I've done means I am bad. Yeah. Whether then I may have done something that was bad or painful, but shame says that mistake or that pain is who I am. Yeah. And so it makes an identity statement. So that's why, like, I didn't hear Arica starting a war saying, you failed me. I didn't hear that you're not a good friend. You're not a good brother. I didn't have the filter of shame because I've worked on self-love with myself for so long that I just heard, oh, there's pain, and I want to seek to understand that pain. Wow. And love is bigger than the pain, and love is bigger than the offense that's inside of Arica's heart in this moment. And so all I have to do is be soft and safe, and we can rebuild that intimacy. Wow. So intimacy is a risk in the face of fear. Intimacy is being willing to let go of our shame, let go of the war, let go of personalizing what someone's saying. Totally. And that opens a door to vulnerability. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And all of a sudden your heart is close to me and you go, oh, that's right. We're connected. Yes. We're a brother and sister. We're deep friends. Right. Right. That is so beautiful. And so that's what you felt, right? Like you walked away going, oh yeah, he's safe. Totally. I can trust him. Totally. It's like we just picked up right from where we left off. And what happened is it just continued to open the floodgates because of our time together. You know, it did a huge unraveling in my own heart where I was calling you and being like, oh my God, I just processed through this. And it was just like that's when you
you know, because I look at you as a brother and a coach, and I was like, wait a minute, I have my brother and my coach on my side again. Well, fuck, all I can do is win, win, win. So I'm just going to, whatever's going on my heart, I'm supported in that, and I can just run at that. I can just embrace that. And that's what I did. I mean, after I left you, I was just like running at things that I had been running from. I started running to them. You know, one of them was picking up the phone and like calling my dad and sobbing, crying and going,
Wow.
I closed my heart off to you, Daddy. Like, I never talk to you anymore. I know you're there for me, but I never talk to you. And just like weeping, there was this little girl inside of me that was just weeping and weeping. I left you a voice recording on your phone, just me sobbing, crying, going, I need to talk to my dad more. I need my dad more in my life. But it was like there's these deep portions in my heart that I wasn't running towards. And it was like when I felt like I had my brother and my coach, who I've been through many battles with, I've been through many wars with, when I felt like I had him back on my side, it was like, well, fuck, like game on, Games of Thrones, like, raw! And I just started like running towards more freedom in my heart. And it's just like every day, it's just, I'm like, man, this is so intense, but this is so beautiful because there's so many parts of my heart that are being redeemed. Even go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Even what you're talking about, that like, you know, even that little person inside of us, like I was so disconnected from my like little girl. My girlfriend was like, maybe we should go make cupcakes together. Like we should do something to like feed that little girl. Cause I'm feeling like, I was telling her, I go, man, I feel like I'm getting old. I'm feeling tired. And she was like, your little girl is like being neglected. All of that, I was like, oh, I can connect with my little girl. So I was telling my boyfriend, I went hiking by myself, and I'm like trolloping. My boyfriend's like, how do you trollop? I'm like, I don't know, but I did. I trolloped. And I'm like skipping around Runyon Canyon. I'm like, woohoo! And like butterflies are flying with me. And I'm like, this is glorious. And then I'm like, I want to dye Easter eggs because that's what my little girl loved to do. So like last night, like I'm like drinking champagne and dyeing Easter eggs, and my boyfriend's just like loving it. I'm like, this is so much fun. This is the best thing ever. And it was like that little girl that I had like stuffed away. It was like I could just bring her back because it was safe. I felt safe with myself again.
Well, and like you said, so intimacy breeds empowerment, really, because if we inside of intimacy feel loved, then we feel supported and we feel ultimately powerful, because all of a sudden we go, love is on my side. Totally. I'm not alone. Totally. Because when there is a lack of intimacy, then that means isolation. Yeah. So we end up isolating ourselves from love. And then we feel like, oh, I don't know if I have what it takes, because love is the fuel for all of our dreams to come alive.
Wow.
Because love says you are not alone. Yes. You don't have to build this on your own. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. And all of a sudden we get into that place in intimacy and love with trust. All of a sudden we go, I want to run after all my dreams. Absolutely. I don't have to carry the burden of the world. I don't have to be worried about everything. Absolutely. It'll all work out because love is more than enough.
Yes, it's so true. It is so, so true. I was telling a girlfriend of mine, I literally had left you, and then 2 days later I was meeting with a girlfriend, and she was the girl I shared with you. Her name is Katerina Satori, and she was like, you're an intimacy doctor. And I was like telling her, I go, Katerina, like you gave me the biggest gift by saying that to me, but fuck, it's wrecked my life. Like, because I've had to deal with intimacy in my own self. And I said, I worked with my coach, and like, it was just like that. You're right. That love, and feeling reconnected to myself. There was this empowerment, and it's been so life-giving. And the beauty of it is it's like wildfire. Anyone who comes in the path of that gets touched by it, and it's so powerful. It's like why we hold this back is such a huge disservice.
Mm-hmm. And the way that intimacy continues to stay, how do I put it? To stay active inside of our life is a couple things. One, I have to accept that pain is part of the human experience. Yeah. So pain is going to be inside of relationships. There's going to be misunderstandings. There's going to be judgments at times. Totally. So fully accepting. There's going to be pain in the marriage. There's going to be pain in friendships. There's going to be pain in the business arena. There's just pain. Yeah. And there's healthy pain and then there's destructive pain. There's chaotic pain, pain that's created because we're deliberately choosing to inflict pain, vengefulness, jealousy on other people.
Right.
But there's just life pain that happens that we go, oh, okay, it's pain. If we have tools to overcome our pain,
Yes.
and we know how to process our pain,
Yes.
then all of a sudden intimacy doesn't become scary because we know that there are solutions to the pain
Yes.
that happens inside of the intimacy.
Yes.
But one of the things that we have to really take into consideration, that one of the staples for intimacy to continue to be stewarded inside of relationship is forgiveness.
Whoa.
So for instance, our exchange, you not only felt loved by me, but you initiated forgiveness because you were able to go, okay, that felt painful from him. He's heard me. He understands where I was coming from. So I was kind, I was gentle, I asked questions. And you went, okay, I can let go of my pain in that area. The truth is he loves me. I'm going to forgive him. I'm going to release him. I'm going to release him from being the villain.
Yes.
Because what we do to protect ourselves from further pain is we vilify people.
Yeah.
Right? And so there are people that maybe guys who are watching right now go, oh my God, I vilified my own father in order to protect from the pain that happened there. I vilified my boss. I vilified my ex-girlfriend. So now I can't get into relationship with women because I've decided that all women are pieces of shit who only want to betray us and hurt us.
Wow.
And so that vilifying of that person has now created a distance, not just between you and that individual, but what that individual represents.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So a big part of cultivating intimacy is going to be forgiveness. And part of the pain process is being able to feel seen, known, understood. That means you risking as a man and opening up your mouth and going, hey, that really hurt. And I'm scared to share this information with you because right now you could reject me. And the question is what if they do reject you? What if you do start to share that with somebody and they're not safe? Say you have an abusive father that is still abusive and has never owned anything. So that might mean that in that relationship, you can forgive that person, but that doesn't mean you have to trust them. You can trust that they are still destructive, therefore they don't get to get close to you. But that doesn't mean that all father figures are against you.
Come on.
And so in order to cultivate intimacy over here, you have to let father figures off the hook, decide that not all of them are like dad.
Totally.
And not all women are like, so when I look at these barriers that keep us from intimacy, a lot of times, like I said, okay, say a woman comes in my office and says, men are all evil. They just want to sex your brains out and take from you, and they don't care about you. Well, I have to look at the real villain. And I say, let's talk about the real villain. What's the real villain? Is masculinity the villain? I don't know. It feels like it. Okay. What's your role in it? Oh, what do you mean my role? What do you believe you're worthy that you deserve?
Yeah. And
they go, oh, from my childhood, I believe that I deserve relationships where men don't care about me. That I'll always have to fight for their love. Oh, so you chose that man in your life.
Yeah.
And so they begin to go, oh, I have a role in the pain experiences that I'm having.
Right.
So number one, going, what's my role in my pain experience?
Yeah.
Did I choose this person to play the game of life that I want to play?
Yeah.
That would perpetuate this lie inside of me. Number two, what's the real villain inside of them? So people, again, will say, the man was the problem. But then I go, what hurt you? Their disregard for my feelings.
Wow.
They couldn't love me. And then I ask, could they love themselves? Oh, no, they don't love themselves well at all. They hate themselves.
Wow.
Oh, hatred is.
Yeah.
Oh, they always put up their walls with you. What was behind that? Fear. Oh, this guy's fear. Fear is the villain. Insecurity is the villain. Self-hatred is the villain. And we start looking at what are the emotional villains, and then all of a sudden we go, men aren't the villain, or women aren't the villain. The emotional partnerships that they have are the villains. So the reason that I'm laying this out and having a practical part of this conversation is so that you can begin to ask, What are the villains in my life that are keeping me from intimacy?
So good.
And what do I need to address, and what archetype of person do I need to choose? So I started choosing people in my life who didn't have a ton of shame, who love themselves, who face their fears head on. And so I started being able to go, oh, intimacy is safe here because these people are working on these areas of their life.
Wow. Wow.
And there's also this that I want to discuss about the word intimacy, because intimacy has a broad description, right, Arica?
Every time when I start telling people, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing like intimacy coaching now, and they're like, oh, so you're talking about people, are you talking to people about sex? And I'm like, of course I'm talking about sex. It's one of my favorite subjects, but not just sex. So yeah, most people, it's like they all have like different, and I'm like, they're like, intimacy with yourself, are you like teaching people masturbation? I'm like, okay, intimacy definitely needs some defining here.
And so as we've been talking, long before we got to the definition of it, obviously we're giving a perspective of intimacy. Arica and I are in an intimate relationship, but it's not sexualized intimacy. No. It's an intimacy. Intimacy is the trust that we share between each other. The place where I allow her to speak into my life and she speaks into mine. Like there's an exchange of a face-to-face relationship where she can say vulnerably the pain that she's experiencing with me, and I'm sharing it back with her. And so intimacy is stripping down really all the guards that we have internally, those walls that we get up and like, I'm not going to let this person affect me. Intimacy is part of my definition of intimacy is a person across from me has the power to affect me, has the power to make me sad. Doesn't mean they're my source and strips me of my identity. But if Arica says, I never want to be around you again, I don't have walls up to say that doesn't matter. I've let her in close enough that I go, that feels like a loss. Yeah. I would have to grieve. I would have to cry that like someone that I've given of my resource of time, my emotion, my care, suddenly is saying, I'm done with all of it. I want nothing to do with you. And I would have to walk out that pain process and grieve that I lost someone that I've dearly loved. Thoughts on that, Arica?
That's very powerful. It's the vulnerability that comes with intimacy of there is a chance that you could hurt me. And I always tell people it's like constantly getting in that ring and putting yourself back in there and going, but I will continue to risk. Because once you experience the reward of intimacy and love, you go, this is too great. And so that's why I constantly, live my life and risk and trust my heart to, the people who've shown themselves loving and get vulnerable with them, because the reward is so much more tremendous than the actual pain that I'm running from. And so I take the risk.
And I have deep intimacy with my guy friends, and that's something that men haven't cultivated. No. One of the biggest things is they don't know how to cultivate intimacy with guy friends. So at best, they drink beers together, fart, scratch their balls, watch some sports, and occasionally, bitch and moan about their girlfriend or wife. And they're like, oh yeah, she's just being a pain in the ass. And that's it. And on they go with life. Right. There's not an exchange there. And I have deep intimacy with those men closest to me. And because of that, we've been taught that the only type of intimacy is sexual. Right. So women are always like, men just want me for my body. And men are told, like, I guess I just want sex. Right. Men's number one desire is not sex. Right. That's a cultural perspective. Yes. Based on the idea that men are not emotional creatures. Yes. Because of a history of men being scared of facing emotions, men have been told, you only want sex. Right. Because that sex is intimate. There's close. There's vulnerability to take our clothes off, to be inside of a woman, to let down our walls and trust that we're not going to be rejected. Right. And so men are jumping from one moment to the next having sex with women when they're not screaming, I want sex. They're screaming, I want an intimate connection, but I don't have language for that. Yeah. And I don't know how to cultivate that. Yeah. Because that feels scary and no one taught it to me. Totally. So men have been made out to be bad guys and evil because they're just out boning chicks. Yeah. But that's because, again, culture said this is your only access to intimacy. Right. And so men, when they cultivate healthy intimacy with other men, where they're being vulnerable, sharing their pain, sharing their fears, letting other brothers in close enough that they can hurt them.
Yeah.
Then also the need to just bone tons of chicks starts dropping deeply down.
Yeah.
So in the male arena, it's going to drop that down because you're like, oh, I feel connected. Like I don't feel like I'm jonesing to just get my rocks off, because I feel loved, I feel cared for, I feel supported. And then even with women, like as you start cultivating intimacy, even with sisters, like I had a ton of emotional sisters like yourself, where I shared my heart in a way that didn't have to be sexualized. And then I didn't have the need to just bone tons of women. That didn't mean I neutered my sexuality. My sexuality is very alive, and Abby and I are like
rabbits.
That's a visual of it. Exactly. There it is. Rabbits. Which is appropriate for Easter week. But what I'm saying is that there's extremisms that begin to not be so extreme, and balance begins to happen in our life when we redefine intimacy and we have multiple outlets for what intimacy is outside of just sexualization.
Totally.
And so talk a little bit, I want to respect your time, but I do want you to share, like, what does intimacy look like for you, Arica? Like self-intimacy.
Right.
When and they're like, does that mean masturbation?
Right.
And you're like,
right.
What is self-intimacy for you?
For me, I think it's come through with one feeling powerful to where I can actually access myself, and not having to run from myself, but to really look inside of myself and go, this is what's going on. And it's not just the running from the pain, but even the receiving thing, like being able to receive in. I'm in that place right now where I've come to accept my beauty, and people can talk to my beauty, but when people start talking about the deep value I give, I'm like, oh, that's great. And I'm like, so it's knowing like who I am, and giving myself some space to listen to myself and not get busy, not run to my iPhone, not run to like, even I have to go on a hike, but just to sit and just be by myself and go, okay, what's going on inside of me? And having the courage to look at the places where there's pain and going, I see that. And then having that space to look at the spaces inside of me that have glory, and to go, wow, like I'm just going to sit with my glory, and I'm going to honor that, and I'm going to cherish that, and I'm going to feel grateful for that, and allowing myself to be loved, to love myself, and to be loved. It's like even this morning, like with my boyfriend, I was like, I call him Cookie because I always want to eat him. I'm like, and he's like, Cookie, really? I'm like, I need you to hold me. And it was like, no matter how much he held me, it was not enough. And I was like, what's going on inside of me? And there were, I did something kind of challenging last night, and I was like, whoa, that probably scared me. And so I'm disconnecting. So what do I need to do? And I went and I was like, I'm going to go sit in a warm bath and just sit with myself. And, just touching my arms. And I think touch is part of it, like just touching yourself. Like we need to be touched, and we need to experience it. It can't be all here. Intimacy with yourself is also being able to hold yourself. It's like I always tell people, like what you want a partner to do for you, you have to do it for yourself. So I have the softest arms in the world, so it's just like touching my arms, and like if my stomach feels afraid, just putting my hands on my stomach and going, I feel you. I know that you're afraid right now, and I know that my Adobe is driving me nuts because it keeps trying to click on to say, it's saying, load me, and I'm like, listen, ain't nobody got time for you right now. I'm trying to Skype.
So all your listeners heard was I was in my bath touching myself.
Yes. And there
like, tell us more.
And there was lubricant and oils. No, but yeah, sorry, my Adobe kicked in. But yeah, it was just like reconnecting myself. Like, Arica, like you don't have to be afraid, sweetheart. Like I'm right here. Like even having language with myself and talking to myself. I always tell people, whatever you imagine intimacy looks like with someone else, it's giving yourself the same thing back. You want to be heard, you want to be seen, you want to be touched, you want to be loved. It's creating space and actually doing that. It's like if Abby told you, like, Justin, I want to go shopping today. And it's like, and then you're like, okay, because I love you, I'll go do that. And it's the same thing. It's like listening to your little person inside, where my little person goes, I wanna paint Easter eggs. And it's like, okay, my adult mind says that's kind of stupid, but I'm gonna honor that in me because I love me, and I'm gonna honor that portion of me and go, okay, then let's dye some fucking Easter eggs. And it was so much fun doing that.
I had a guy come in, excuse me. I had a guy come into me. He was in his 70s, and he learned a lifestyle of not taking care of himself. So he took care of financially his wife, his kids, everything like that. So if they wanted new clothes or a new car, they just wanted things, he made sure that he took care of those things. But he wore clothes that he'd been wearing for 10 years, they had holes in them. He looked like he was poor, but he actually had money and was taking care of other people. And I was like, why don't you take care of yourself? He's like, I don't know. And as we start getting into it, he's going, I don't feel like I deserve it.
Wow.
I don't feel like I'm worth it.
Wow.
I feel like I'm only here to be a provider.
Wow.
And so what I said is, this is a case of you not loving yourself.
Wow.
You're not creating intimacy with yourself. Intimacy is you doing things to take care of yourself. Now, there are some people that go, well, what if that becomes selfishness? Well, you'll know it's selfish. Like, it's not true love. If you're truly loving yourself and taking care of yourself, it will provoke you to want to give to the world around you.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what it'll do.
Absolutely.
But for this guy, it was as simple as I said, close your eyes and ask, what's the one thing you would really like? And he had a picture of the old 12-inch G.I. Joe action figures.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I'm a G.I. Joe nerd, and I like the little small ones, and I got hundreds of them. But he was like, I just see a 12-inch G.I. Joe figure.
Wow.
And I told him, I want you to go out and buy one of those for yourself.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't know if I can do that. That feels like a waste of money, right? So this is a waste. Doing something for myself is a waste, right? And so I said, if you're ever going to create intimacy in your marriage that's broken down, you're going to have to be intimate with yourself in this space. You're going to have to do something loving for yourself. And so he went out and he ordered up an action figure that he found off eBay, a couple $100 worth on it. And he was like, I don't know. It just changed something inside of me. It just changed something inside of my being. Like, I feel like I'm worth something now. And I feel like what it came into is it started creating the sense of I'm worthy of my wife's love that she has to give. And because this area in his life, they said I'm unworthy, there's worth on. That means the walls come down. That means now there's access to him. Now he's going, my wife's been trying to love me for years and I haven't been letting it in. And that's why there's a disconnection and a breakdown inside of intimacy, inside of our relationship, because I couldn't trust that I was worthy of that love.
Wow.
And so this is what ultimately Arica's talking about. Cultivating that intimacy with ourselves lets us allow people closer to us. Absolutely. Believing that we're worthy. And that's a big human question that's subconscious for every individual. Am I worthy of love? Wow. Am I worthy? Am I valuable? Am I deserving of love? Wow. With their logic, I'll ask a guy, do you think you're worthy of love? Oh yeah, I'm deserving. Of course I do. I'm lovable. And I'll say, you don't love yourself. Oh, of course I do love myself. But from their practical actions to the inner dialogue that says, I'm an idiot, I should have done that better, I'm stupid. I talk about the idea of you have to project the little child from within outside of yourself and ask, the things that you've been saying internally to yourself, would you say to a little kid? Would you tell a little kid, you're an idiot, you're stupid, right. You totally failed everybody.
Totally.
I'm like, that kid wouldn't feel loved, and neither does your heart. It's not self-love. And so as you're talking about the concept of the self-dialogue, intimacy is going to be stewarded when you begin to change that self-dialogue. And you begin to believe that you're worthy, and then you're worthy of connection and all these other things. So that's a lot of what I think and feel about the base of intimacy.
It's such a huge invitation. I was telling my boyfriend, I was running through Runyon Canyon. Like, no one talks to anyone in LA on these hikes. And so, like, I'm going through it, and I'm just, like, feeling joy and feeling all this. And people would look at me and go, well, good afternoon. And I was like, good afternoon. And it's like that, when you're intimate with yourself, it's an invitation for other people to come in. And this is very intimate, and I'll just say it. You know, my boyfriend hates baths. And this morning, like, he had stepped out of the room, and I just went and got in the bathtub, played some music, set my oils and just like reconnected back with myself. And he goes, well, what are you doing? I go, and he knew we had this interview, and I go, I'm taking a bath. And he goes, okay. And he just took off his robe and came and sat there with me and just held me in that place. And it's like, it was like he didn't even ask what was going on. He just saw that I was reconnecting back to myself. And it was an invitation for him to just go. He didn't even say anything. He just got in the tub behind me. He goes, rest your head back here, and just held me really close. And I was like, wow, that is the beauty of intimacy with yourself. Is it's even an invitation to other people. It's like this. It's like this self party you're throwing, and people want to come and party with you, you know? And I think a lot of people, especially people who are hearing this, we're so taught that intimacy and the things that we want are outside of ourselves. That's what we're conditioned. You know, that next Maserati, that next big house, that next bonus, those are the things that will make you feel good. And the thing is, when I talk to people like having intimacy with yourself, loving yourself, well, what's the point? Because that is the real invitation to allow people in. Once you find the space to give it to yourself, you release an invitation to everyone else, this invisible invitation where people want to come and join you in that. And that true love that you really want, that fulfillment, gets invited in. You don't have to go struggling and fighting for it, but it's that invitation that you leave open to where those things, that those people, those desires start naturally coming to you because they feel the invitation, because you chose to give it to yourself.
Come on. Exactly. That's it. And that's a foundation. People, like you said, everyone thinks that life is an external thing happening to you. And really it comes down to the internal thing. Yeah. And everyone tries to control the externals. That's what fear is. Fear is control. I'm trying to control all this that's orbiting around me. And the reality is if I realize that I am the source of healing and pain, like I can begin to love myself, connect to myself, be intimate internally, face these things, then I'm actually going to heal this outside of me. Because I'm going to create, like you said, invitations for healthy relationships and healthy connection. And we're going to choose people that are going to align with that new value system. And we're going to build a world outside of us without ever having to try and control the people outside of us. Right. And controlling people outside of us, it is an illusion. Like you can't control someone. You can try to manipulate them. You can't actually control them. No. They can submit their will to you, but you can't actually control them. Right. That's a choice that they make if they submit their will to you. And that's exhausting. And there's never intimacy inside of control. Right. Right. So this is a great conversation. I don't know how long we've gone for. I want to respect your time. So
this was amazing. And, you know, guys, Justin said, you know, it's about finding those tools to cultivate intimacy. And I mean, I'm sure you guys are listening to Justin going, wow, like, oh my God. Yes. Oh my God. This is why he is my coach. So I want you guys to go to his website. It's Justin, Justin, Stumvoll, Stumvoll.com. I'm going to put a link in the description. But Justin does provide coaching. So if you want access to work with like this awesomeness, he won't work with everyone, but you know who we can work with, he will choose to work with. But you can coach with him. Also, Justin has this amazing podcast called The Liberation Project, and him and his partner Blair are on this. And you guys, it's for men. It's about reclaiming masculinity. But I listen to it all the time, and you guys, the tools that I find in this are just insane. You have to go to iTunes right now and subscribe to this podcast, because you guys, it will internally change your life. As I said, I listen to it and it does so much for me. And Justin's book, oh my God, you guys, that book, I love that book. It's such a beautiful, there's something about going into a fiction world that creates a safe place for you to expose those areas in your heart, to look at them and to go, I can find the courage to embrace this. And I believe that fiction books do that. And this book really allows your heart the safe space to go on the journey and to explore it.
Awesome. Arica, thank you so much for having me on and for sharing what we do. Yeah, over at the Liberation Project, you know, again, the tagline is a movement for manhood. And we want to create and facilitate tools and understanding that faces the problem with the passive uninspired, limp-wristed male that lives in this extreme. And we also want to face the problems with the domineering male that runs over and destroys people. And we want to find out what the balance is between having a healthy emotional connection and knowing when to be nurturing and knowing when to come out like a lion and roar.
Yeah.
But universally, the conversations we have are across the board for all humans. But directly, we're talking to men, and we get away with a little bit more when we're just having a dialogue with men. And then women jump in and listen like flies on the wall, and they ended up getting the same kind of inspiration that men do. But
when is your conference? I'm on your email list. When are you guys launching your conference?
Yeah, we have a very intimate conference in the fact that we're only allowing 100 men into this conference. June 2nd and 3rd, 2017, up at Bridge Bay Resort in Redding, California, up by Shasta Lake. So we're right next to the lake.
Wow.
We're going to do some really great things to connect to our authentic masculinity.
I love that.
So you can find out more information. Tickets have gone pretty fast. There's still some available on theliberationproject.com/conference. And you can find out more about that there. So, Arica, not only thank you, but to those who are listening, thank you for allowing me the time to share some of this stuff. I have so much fun talking about intimacy and getting to talk with you in general.
I love it. And if all of you guys fill up his coaching schedule and I don't have a slot on there, I'm coming after every single one of you. So be mindful. All right, guys, I love you. And once again, thank you for listening to Justin. He's definitely got a pioneering voice and is pioneering a new movement. And I'm so honored to be connected with him. And I extend the invitation to you as well to connect with this man and be a part of this new movement that's going on that's bringing men the liberty that they truly want, that their hearts truly desire, and that set them on the path of the freedom and the destiny that they're meant for.
Arica, I love you, girl.
I love you, Justin. Bye.
Bye now.